It's that time of the week when we talk about stress. Ooh, stress, stress, stress. I'm an autism parent, and for those of you who are autism parents, I know I'm preaching to the choir here. This is a stressful journey. And fortunately, people have recently done studies to corroborate that it's stressful. Thanks. Glad you did some research on that. It's stressful. And the thing that's really important that we remember, because I know in the beginning I did not get this, and people said it to me and I didn't get it, but this is a marathon, not a sprint. And there were so many times when I knew it was important for me to rest. I got that. I mean, I'm not ridiculous, right? But I would say to myself, well, I'll rest tomorrow. I'll rest next week. I'll rest next year. There were so many things to do, and I felt like I was on a treadmill and I didn't want to slow down. And you guys know, if you watch the show, that I share that I ended up getting sick. It really came home to me then that if I didn't take care of myself and if I didn't prioritize rest, then I wasn't going to be around to be on the treadmill. I wasn't going to be there for the marathon. I wasn't even going to be there around the bend. And it's so important that we remember that if we're going to be an effective and efficient member of this team, we have to show up and be healthy and be in our right minds. And if you don't get enough rest, man, you're not going to get it done no matter how hard you try. And not only that, it's going to take you twice as long to get done what you want to get done. So a couple of tips that we have for getting rest. And the first one, it sounds ridiculous. All of this sounds ridiculous, but I'm going to say it anyway because I need to be reminded of this almost on a weekly basis. And I know I'm not the only one, but we have to prioritize rest. I have a friend who does a weekly schedule of all the things that she's going to do, but the first thing that she does before she puts anything else in is she puts when she's going to sleep. Now, doesn't that sound ridiculous? Because we all know we're going to sleep at some point every night, but she puts down that she is going to sleep at 11 o'clock at night, and then she adheres to that. And I have to be honest, it's crazy smart, because sometimes something happens at 10:55 and you go, oh, I have to fill out this one last piece of paperwork. And it's important. It's absolutely important. But is it as important as your health? Because it probably could be done at 8:15 in the morning. And if you were to be rested, it could be done in 8 minutes. Whereas if you sit up to do it at 11 o'clock when you're exhausted, it's going to take over an hour. And then the things that you were going to do at 8:15 aren't going to get done right because you're going to be behind the whole time. So prioritizing rest, even if a lot of us that are autism parents have some sort of thing that we do to keep the schedule for OT and for physical therapy, and when our child has to be in what place to have ABA, we have that schedule. And I would ask you, how willing would you be to say, oh, well, I'm just not going to put OT on the schedule and we'll see if it happens. I know, I can hear all of you going, I would never do that. Okay, but that's the kind of priority we have to give us getting rest. I know it isn't always possible because sometimes our child is interfering with that. We have the bedtime pass for that. If you didn't ask for the template for the bedtime pass, please do. We'll share that later on. But we have to prioritize our rest. It's got to be of paramount importance, and we have to take it seriously. It isn't something that we can say, oh, I'll catch up. We get too far behind. And then the second thing is that we have to recognize that there is constructive rest and there is non-constructive rest. It isn't essential that you always go to sleep. It may be, a lot of people would say to me, oh, well, you should take a nap in the middle of the day. And I would want to just yell at them and say, you have no idea what my life is like. A nap is not possible. And that may be true in your life as well, but we can't underestimate or understate the importance, we can't overstate, that's what I want to say, the importance of constructive rest. That sometimes just taking 5 minutes and laying down and closing our eyes and resting can be as beneficial as taking a nap. Sometimes you wake up from a nap and you're disoriented and you just can't get back into the swing of things, but constructive rest is something that can be very useful to us. It can be as simple as laying on your back with your knees up so that the pressure is off your hips, closing your eyes, breathing deeply for 5 minutes. Really, really, really beneficial for you. And then, of course, our last tip is set yourself up for success. I know it seems like it takes so much more energy, but if we take the time to exercise and have our children exercise during the day and get them real and truly worn out, not to the point where they're ill, of course. We want to be commonsensical about this, but giving our children a chance to be physically engaged so that they are tired by the end of the day. Setting them up with that bedtime ritual and with a bedtime pass so that they're more likely to go to sleep. And then as soon as they're asleep, going back to prioritizing our sleep. Please, if I could count the number of times that I finally got my child to sleep and that I said, okay, now I can go do the laundry. Now I can go do the dishes. Now I can go do the work that I need to do, and didn't rest instead. If the only time that we have, and in the early days of autism, very likely it is the only time, if the only time we have to rest is when they're resting, then it has to take priority over the dishes and over the laundry. I know it adds up, but also our lack of sleep adds up, and no amount of having the laundry done can fix the lack of sleep. And there does come a time when the laundry and the dishes will get in the way of what you're doing with your child, but it takes much longer for the laundry and the dishes to pile up to that point than it does our lack of sleep. So set ourselves up for success. You know what they say to people who have new babies? Make sure you rest when the baby rests. Yes, that stops for them at some point. But for those of us with kids with autism, it takes much longer to stop. I will tell you that eventually, if you show up and have enough of the right stuff over the right amount of time, the day will come when you will get caught up on sleep and you can stay up to do some things after your child has gone to sleep. But until you get to that moment, and I think it's a minute-by-minute basis. Somebody said to me this last weekend, and as I said, earlier, everybody got a little ill in our house this weekend, and I sat down on the couch and fell asleep. And somebody reminded me that if you sit down and fall asleep within minutes, you haven't had enough rest. So I have to remind myself the priority of rest. I hope that you guys will as well. It will make us better equipped to deal with all the things that are coming our way, the good stuff and the stuff that isn't easy. If we're rested, we can handle it. So find the time, prioritize the rest.